Was just sitting here about to go to sleep, and then, as so often happens, inspiration hits me. I decided to go to Twitter and post a list of reasons why I've come to believe that the Democrats are the party of truth. And so I'm going to read you the list herewith. You ready? All right, here we go. The noble Democrats are the party of truth. And then because, here's the list. Number one, Jussi Smollett was attacked by MAGA thugs. If you're thinking, why am I saying this to Democrats? Because Jussi Smollett is a committed Democrat. All of the Democrat media and Democrat folks were on board with him. So, number one, first truth, Jussi Smollett was attacked by MAGA thugs. Number two, women can have 9-inch penises. Number three, men can bear children. Number four, there are no objective truths other than the one truth that there are no objective truths. Number five, a 17-year-old who kills his parents to collect the insurance money, i.e., for pecuniary reasons, is only a child, so you can't really punish him criminally because, the prefrontal cortex is developing until the age of 25. But a 2-year-old who declares that they are transgender is old enough to state so. So you see, 17-year-old, 364 days, too young to understand right and wrong. When you kill your parents in a premeditated way, 2-year-old, you declare that you're not of the gender that you're born into, and then we just celebrate it. Number six, to point to the origins of COVID is racist. Number seven, to suggest that COVID spread via a lab leak is a conspiracy. Number eight, the COVID vaccine stops the spread of the virus. Number nine, COVID does not spread between humans. Yes, this was promulgated largely by Democratic folks. And then typically the ones who were more hesitant were conspiracy Republican nuts. Number 10, BLM riots are peaceful and cannot serve as super spread events of COVID. You going to see your grandma who's on her deathbed, that's not allowed. BLM protest with 100,000 BLM supporters is COVID free. Number 11, US inflation was caused by Putin. Number 12, all cultures are equal, but the US culture is uniquely evil. Number 13, it is a good idea to spend trillions of dollars over the next 100 years to reduce Earth's temperature by maybe 1%, maybe less, with a plus or minus margin of error based on a whole bunch of mathematical assumptions that if you change one small parameter, it completely changes the estimate. But we can't predict what tomorrow's stock prices will be, but we're going to base hundreds of trillions of dollars of future spending and revenue distribution for the next 100 years based on models that seek to predict what might happen in 100 years. As someone who studied mathematical modeling, that sounds like a very good idea to me. Number 14, Joe Biden has full cognitive acuity. Unlike Donald Trump, who's a babbling fool, Joe Biden is a model of cognitive acuity. And whenever it seems as though he's not saying something properly, that's just because of a stutter. Those are all noble democratic truth. They're the party of truth. Republicans are just lying, diabolical pigs. Number 15, toxic masculinity is a health crisis. It really is. It makes beautiful sense to take a sexually reproducing species made up of two phenotypes, two gametes, male and female, and to pathologize one of the two sexes. That's a noble Democrat truth. Number 16, a solid one, by the way, photo IDs during elections is racist. So photo IDs in every other situation in society is perfectly reasonable. To ask for someone to identify themselves when they are voting is clearly Jim Crow or something. Number 17, meritocracy is evil because whiteness. You can't have this idea of equality of opportunities because we don't have equality of opportunities. Meritocracy itself is baked into white supremacy. Everything that I'm saying, by the way, this is not, none of it is satire. None of it is hyperbole. None of it is Gad satire. These are exact positions taken by noble progressives. Number 18, the greatest threat to the U.S. is white supremacy. We even have top U.S. generals say that. The President of the United States. The top domestic threat, certainly, domestic terrorist threats, is white nationalists, white supremacy. We don't exactly know what those groups are. How many are there? How do you determine what that is? Everybody is a white supremacist. I've been accused of being a white supremacist. Number 19, there's a genocide of people of color by cops. Absolutely. That's unequivocal. There's just a daily genocide. Thousands of people of color are being mowed down by cops. If you actually ask Republicans and Democrats how many people of color are killed by year by cops, they're both very off, but the noble Democrats are off by a lot more. Number 20, defunding the police is necessary. So we, defund the police, defund the police. And today, when crime is rampant, this side of the mouth, defund the police, this side of the mouth. We never said defund the police. We said the fun police, not defund. We said the fun. You misheard us. It was the Biden stutter. Number 21, social workers would reduce crime in the inner cities more than tough policing. You don't need to send guys, ominous guys, or gals, with guns to police in the inner cities. You need social workers who bring together people and, you talk about it, you talk about your feelings. The inner gangs in Chicago's South Side, the only reason they're violent is because they're afraid of the police. Get rid of the police, bring in social workers, crime solved. Because the Democrats are very good because their theories, their policies are rooted in truths about human nature, unlike those pig Republicans. You see the difference? 22, cities that have been under the control of Democrats for decades. Some cities have been under Democratic control since when Baruch Spinoza was philosophizing in Amsterdam several hundred years ago. And those cities that have been literally under democratic control for 7, 8, 9 decades consecutively, the reason why they have crimes in their city is because of Republicans. You see how causality works? So that's another important truth. That's just a causal truth. Number 23, Joe Biden's family is noble and honest. There's really no evidence that the Biden family is, corrupt. On the other hand, Donald Trump's family is pure evil. You just see it, you know it, you feel it. It's a gut thing, right? It's when Alvin Bragg, now using noble truth, said that he's using the Did Bad Stuff Act to charge. That was one of the important indictments, right? He charged him. He probably did bad stuff. That's the act. That's from the famous U.S. Supreme Court case of Jones versus Bullshit. So that's another truth. Number 24, Donald Trump is an existential threat to humanity. He must be stopped at all costs. If you have to cheat, if you have to lie, if you have to make up, if you have to destroy the country, if you have to violate every single deontological principle that defines a free and enlightened society, that doesn't matter because we put on our truthful consequentialist hat, and at all costs we must make sure that the asteroid that's barreling towards Earth is stopped. Number 25, another important truth, and this one I strongly agree with. Kamala Harris is well qualified to be one heartbeat away from the presidency. And the reason why I know that is because she's a woman and she's a woman of color. So unlike those sexist, racist people who say, she's as dumb as Saad's socks. Saad's socks are more qualified to be the vice president of the United States. That would be racist. I know she's qualified because of her skin color and because she used to ovulate. Those are the things that I use. And that's really what you should use in all cases, because we know that meritocracy, as is a central feature of Joe Biden's administration, meritocracy is white supremacy. You need to have identity politics adjudicating all HR decisions. Number 26, we have less than a few years to live because climate crisis, and the rolling window keeps changing, and it changes for exactly the opposite reasons. We have 6 years left to live because of A, and then we move the window and we have 6 years left to live for not A. And those are not inconsistencies. They are Schrodinger truths. Noble, progressive Schrodinger truths. Number 27, evolution is real, but evolutionary psychology is quasi-Nazi BS science. Number 28, Hunter Biden's laptop is Russian disinformation. We know that because the mainstream media told us that, because there were 51, Democrat intelligence community members that guaranteed us that they were Russian information. It turns out not to be the case, but that doesn't matter. When they said it, they thought it was true, therefore it's true. Okay. Number 29, there is no border crisis, and national borders are racist. So both of these things hold. So if you have national borders, that's a form of racism because you're trying to keep noble people of color out from the southern border. But in any case, there is no border crisis. Number 30, leaving $85 billion of military equipment and hardware behind in Afghanistan was a good idea, as the General Milley, whatever, explained, because it is less expensive than to have brought it back. So logistically, economically speaking, this was a good spending of taxpayer dollar. $85 billion left in Afghanistan when you retreat in the middle of the night and you leave everything, you leave the air base. That's good policy. Number 31, well, this one makes sense. Donald Trump is a Russian asset. Number 32, printing trillions of dollars does not cause inflation. First of all, it's a transitory inflation. It's a quasi-inflation. It's not an inflation. You go to the store and you can't afford to buy anything. It's a Republican myth that means it's inflation. It's not inflation. It's a quasi-inflation. It's a transitory inflation. Don't believe your lying eyes. Don't believe your pocketbook, as the Secretary of Treasury, whatever that idiot, explained to us. Number 33, soft on crime policies reduce crime. So if you have a more tolerant DA that says, hey, look, we're going to take all of these violent felonies, and we're going to turn them into misdemeanors. We're not going to prosecute crimes if they're less than stealing of $950. That reduces crime. So what you have is, if you defund the police, if you have less police presence, if you remove the ability for people to defend themselves, make more strict gun control. So remove the ability for people to have guns, make the judicial system a lot less punitive, right? Don't put somebody who has raped and killed many, many people away for 50 years. That person is a victim of society. So you have to treat them nicely, maybe send them to rehab, a re-education camp, maybe 2 weekends, 3 weekends, then bring them out. As we see all these noble criminals that come out after they have had 17, 20, 39 felony charges, then you let them out and then they murder someone. That demonstrates that soft on crime policies work. By the way, it sounds as though I'm being satirical. I'm literally aping every single word that comes out from their mouth. So this is good. Bring in tons of criminals that are undocumented, because open border policies, remove people's ability to carry a gun and defend themselves, defund the police, and the rest of that nonsense. And what do? You get a reduction in crime. So if you see epidemiological crime data that shows that, let's say, crime has gone up by 70%, that's good, because it's less than 71. So that shows you that their policies are working. Okay. The justice system is racist because how else could you explain the racial realities of inmates, right? You have here are people of one race, here are people of another race. This group of people are much more likely to be incarcerated than this group. There's only one possible explanation. There is inequity. There's systemic racism, right? For example, I've always said, why aren't you putting more Vietnamese people to death? Now, they may not be committing any crimes to warrant them putting to death, but given the number of Vietnamese that you have in the United States, there should be more people put to death, because criminal data should follow demographic realities, right? Except if it is for the top 25 leading rushers of the NFL, 24 of whom are black, one of which is white. In that case, it's not racist. But if there aren't the right number of black quarterbacks or assistant manager in the NFL, then that demonstrates racism. But it's not racism if here are the winners of the last 30 years of the Boston Marathon. Let me tell you which country they come from, roughly. Kenya, 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 Ethiopia, Kenya, 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 Ethiopia, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Kenya, Kenya, Kenya. That is not systemic racism. In that case, it's just they're better runners. You see how it works? So that's all from progressive diversity, inclusion, equity, which is a epistemological truth brought to us by noble Democrats. They're truthful. Republicans are evil. Number 35, humans are born with equal potentiality. The reason why your son did not become Michael Jordan or Lionel Messi or Isaac Newton is because you didn't hug him enough, or you hugged him too much, or you hugged him in the middle. It couldn't be that Michael Jordan was born in the world with a greater propensity to be a top athlete than your chubby son named Mordechai Rubinstein. That can't be, because we're all born free of malice. We're all born beautiful. There is no one who's born a sociopath or a psychopath. We're all beautiful. And then I wrote, I could go on for another 3 hours with many more noble truths, but I'm getting tired. Please feel free to share some of your favorite progressive truths. My next book might be about progressive truths. Of course, as you can see, many of the noble progressive truths that I've listed here are very much stemming from the idea pathogens that I cover in the parasitic mind. But I think I might need to go back to this topic, and after my forthcoming book on happiness, which is a very positive book, a very warm book, fun book, maybe the book after, I'll return to some of the wonderful ideas that the progressive Democrats are spreading in the world. Have a good day, everybody. Cheers.